Remembering the Nation, History, Allegory, and Postmodern Form in Midnight's Children. Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children stands as a monumental achievement that fundamentally reimagines the possibilities of the historical novel. Published at the dawn of postmodernism's high tide, Rushdie's work harnesses the genre not to faithfully retell historical events, but to perform a poetic awakening of the people caught within them, making readers re-experience the social and human motives of a tumultuous era. By fusing the epic narrative of modern India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh with the magical realist autobiography of Salim Sinai, a child born at the exact moment of India's independence, Rushdie creates a work of historiographic metafiction. This novel revises both the content of the historical record and the very conventions of historical fiction, questioning the division between history and narrative, and asserting that in the post-colonial world, identity and history are hybrid, contested, and inescapably plural. Rushdie's novel is a direct descendant and a radical transformation of the historical novel as pioneered by Walter Scott. Where Scott sought verisimilitude to convey the spirit, manners, and social conditions of a past age, Rushdie pursues a deeper, more subjective truth through fantasy, exaggeration, and metaphysical connection. Salim Sinai is not merely a witness to history, he is a link to history both literally and metaphorically. His telepathic nose, which connects him to the other 1001 Midnight's Children, becomes an organ of collective consciousness, embodying the nation's polyglot, multi-faith reality. This conceit allows Rushdie to achieve the genre's aim of focusing on the individual in the flow of historical forces, but on a mythic scale. Salim's personal cracking body, its ailments, its giant nose, its eventual sterilization, serves as a masterful allegory for the fragmentation, violence, and crises of identity that plagued the subcontinent after partition. The nation history is not a backdrop but a character, its fortunes viscerally tied to the protagonist's flesh. The novel's form is a carnivalesque, encyclopedic excess that embodies its themes of multiplicity and hybridity. Its structure, 3 sprawling parts moving from family history, through the promise of the Midnight Children's Conference, to the disillusionment of war and emergency, mirrors India's own trajectory from hopeful birth to fractured reality. Rushdie employs a dizzying array of narrative modes, oral storytelling, cinematic pastiche, political satire, and mythical allegory. This radical intertextual decent ring draws from sources as diverse as the 1001 Nights, Tristram Shandy, and Bollywood films, creating a dialogic texture that celebrates the hybrid forms born of colonialism. The novel itself is a kind of pickle factory, as Salim suggests, attempting to preserve history in 30 jars for 30 chapters and 30 years. This metaphor underscores the central postmodern and postcolonial argument. Preservation involves transformation. There is no pure history, only spiced, mediated, and subjectively arranged versions. As a postmodernist historical novel, Midnight's Children executes the dual revision Brian McHale outlines. First, it actively revises and demystifies the orthodox nationalist narrative. Rushdie presents an apocryphal history filled with anachronisms and magical interventions, highlighting how official histories are constructed. The emergency period is depicted as a time of historical amnesia, mirrored in Salim's own memory loss. The rivalry between Salim and Shiva critiques the arbitrary violence of partition and the broken promises of independence. Shiva, named for the god of destruction and regeneration, represents the violent, tumultuous undercurrent of the nation's birth, complicating any simplistic, celebratory historical record. Second, the novel transforms the conventions of the genre through profound self-reflexivity. Salim is an intensely unreliable narrator who constantly doubts his own memory. I must work fast, faster than Scheherazade, if I am to end up meaning something. His narrative, addressed to Padma, is full of digressions, corrections, and metafictional commentary on its own construction. This draws attention to history itself as a narrative act, a pickling process. The novel's inordinate size and complexity, characteristic of postmodern megafiction, mirrors the overwhelming, proliferating reality of India itself, creating an ontological difficulty for the reader. Is this fantasy or history? For Rushdie, the question is moot, the magical is mundane in a subcontinental context, and the historical record is already a form of collective storytelling. Ultimately, Midnight's Children is a profound meditation on post-colonial identity and the imaginary homelands of the diaspora. Salman, like his nation, is hybrid, the sum total of everything that went before me. His ambiguous inheritance reflects the ambivalent legacy of post-colonial India, where absolute independence from the colonial past is an illusion. Rushdie champions economic identities over parochial localism, suggesting that the multiply-rooted individual possesses a privileged, richer perspective. The novel itself, written from contemporary London as a critique of Thatcherite hostility to immigrants, becomes an act of bridging borders, of remembering a shattered homeland through story. In conclusion, Midnight's Children reinvents the historical novel for a postmodern, post-colonial age. It rejects realistic fidelity to fact in favor of a deeper, magical, and subjective fidelity to the experience of history. Through its allegorical structure, its carnivalesque form, and its relentless self-interrogation, Rushdie demonstrates that personal and national identity are stories we tell, endlessly pickled and preserved. The novel does not offer a coherent, authoritative history of India. Instead, in the best tradition of the historical novel revived, it awakens the people within that history in all their glorious, tragic, and miraculous contradiction, insisting that to understand a nation, one must listen to the cacophony, telepathic, and irreducibly plural stories of its children.